So earlier today, Serif released version 2.3 of their Affinity suite of apps, which would include Designer, Photo, and Publisher. And in this video, I'll be going over some of the new updates in Affinity Designer specifically. As you can see here, we have some new tools, we have some improvements to some other features, and some added new features as well, some of which I'll be going over in this video. I'll put a link to this page in the description of the video if you want to scroll through here and see exactly everything that's new. So to get us started, the first thing we'll be having a look at is a new tool that we have to work with known as the Spiral tool. It's located over here under your Shapes menu. If you hold a click over this tool, you can scroll down here to the bottom of the list and you'll see we have a new addition known as the Spiral tool. So I'll click on that to select it. And what this tool does is it allows you to draw objects that follow a spiral path, as you can see on my screen. And if I hold the Shift key, it'll lock it either onto the vertical or horizontal axis like that. Now, if you come up here into the tool settings menu, you can see we have some settings that we can use to tweak this spiral further. We could change the direction of the spiral. We can use this slider right here to change the number of turns in the spiral. And then we could change the angle and the arc angle as well. So if I were to change this angle, we get this effect there. And if I come over here to change the arc angle, I can move this all the way over to the right like that. So now we get that sort of arc right there. So let me put that back to where it was. And there's various other types of spirals that you can work with as well. So if I come over here to this style dropdown, I can choose from linear or decaying, which creates that sort of effect where it becomes smaller as it gets closer to the center. We also have semicircular. We have counti-semicircular, so it kind of looks like it's like a fingerprint sort of pattern. Then we have the Fibonacci, in case you want to create a Fibonacci spiral. And then we have plotted, which follows a polygonal sort of direction. So a spiral tool may not seem like much at first, but if you get a little creative with it, it could be used to actually create some really useful designs. For example, on my other channel, I used the spiral tool in Inkscape to create this rolled up sheet of paper icon. And in order to create that rolled page sort of look, I needed to create a spiral shape to do that. And the spiral tool came in really handy there. And not only that, there's lots of other creative things that you can do with the spiral tool as well, if you get a little creative with it. Another update that I thought was really interesting is an update that was made to the Move tool. If you can see here on the screen now, the Move tool now has these additional settings in it that allow it to function more like the Blend tool in Adobe Illustrator. So if I come back over here into Designer, I can take this text item, select it, and then press Enter on my keyboard, and now I have the Move/Duplicate menu. And what I could do is I can tick this box to make a duplicate copy of the object. I can move the copies 5 pixels vertically. And then I can come down here and make it so that each copy is 95% the size of the previous copy. And if I come down here to the number of copies, I can increase that. And you can see we get this descending effect, as you can see there. And if you want to reverse that effect, you can just come over here to where it says insertion mode and choose this other option. And now you get that effect there like that. So I thought that was a really useful addition to Affinity Designer, and I'm sure a lot can be done with that. Another new feature that was added to Affinity Designer is a pixel grid. And if your installation is anything like mine, it was enabled by default. So if you zoom in really close on the canvas, and if you zoom in far enough, you could start to see these little gray grid lines that appear on the screen. It may be difficult to see on my screen, but if you try this on yours, you could probably see it a little better. This represents the pixel grid, and it should be turned on by default. If you want to turn it off, you could just come up here to where it says View, go to Grid and Axis, and let me pull that menu in here. There we go. We now have this option right here that says Show Pixel Grid, and it's enabled by default. So if you want to turn that off, you can get rid of the pixel grid, or you could just leave it on. You're really not going to see it unless you're zoomed in at really close angles. And the useful thing about this grid is that you can snap to this grid if you enable this option up here that says Force Pixel Alignment. So if I turn that on, now I can grab my rectangle tool, and if I try to draw a rectangle, it's only going to be confined to those pixels. So as you can see there, I can create different sizes of rectangles, but each rectangle that I create is going to snap within the pixel grid of the canvas. And this could be really useful for creating pixel art. I know I've done tutorials like that on this channel before. You can go check those out if you want, and with the pixel grid, it should be even easier. And another feature that I thought was pretty cool is having the ability to add passwords to PDF documents that you save. So let's say, for example, you're creating a PDF document here and you want to export this. You can go to File and choose Export. And you could choose to export this as a PDF document. And if I could find it in the list, there it is. And if you scroll down here, you can see we now have an option to password protect this PDF document if you want to. So if you want, you can just enable this box, require a password to open it, and you can input your password there like that. And you can also require a password for modification and printing. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature to include. If you have a document that has really sensitive information and you only want certain people to see it, you can password protect it and hand the password off to those people and you're good to go. So that should do it for all of the major new updates in version 2.3 of Affinity Designer. But like I mentioned earlier, I'll have this page linked in the description of the video if you want to comb through here and see all of these details. Just to go over a couple of things really quickly. If you notice, we now have the ability to change the background color of the Assets menu. And now the pencil tool has a setting added to it which allows you to keep the path selected after you've drawn it so that you can change its size and its color without having to go and manually select it. So go and check it out for yourself and let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to learn more about Affinity Designer, be sure to check out my Affinity Designer Masterclass. It's a collection of over 80 videos where I go over all of the tools and features in Affinity Designer and I explain what they are and demonstrate how they work, kind of like how I did in this video. We even have a private community where you can ask questions and get help from me whenever you want. I'll have some information about that linked below. If you have any questions, let me know. And as always, thanks for watching.